For the loser now will be later to win, for the times they are a changin'. Lyrics from the great Bob Dylan, and a fitting title for our show today. Hey there, I'm Austin, joined by Ryan Hain and Ryan Hernan. This is After Hours. Today we're talking about game changers in sports and things that have changed the game in the past, and are currently changing it, and how the game will change in the future. But before we jump into talking about that, we have to start off with one big thing. We want to talk about one big thing from the week, and I will start off with probably one of the wilder, crazy contract situations I've seen in a long time with current Edmonton Oiler winger Evander Kane, who's in a grievance hearing filed on his behalf with the San Jose Sharks for wrongful termination of his contract. The part where it gets really weird is Kane technically is an Oiler right now and has a year left on his contract. But if he wins this grievance, the Sharks, then he would have been legally deemed to be fired wrongly, and the Sharks would get his rights and him back on roster. So he would become a San Jose Shark again. Like, just they would have him back, which is nuts. And then they would either have to cut him, trade him, but he only has a 3-team no trade clause, or keep him on the roster. And so it's a whole mess. I'm very excited to see how it plays out because I've never seen anything like it. But it should be a good, fun time watching the Evander Kane situation.
So what happens? So if he gets just thrown back on the Sharks, what happens to his Oilers contract? That just gets torn up.
The Oilers technically don't have his rights anymore, and so he goes. I think he was cut or he was waived, and they picked him up off waivers, and so the original contract was there, so he's eligible for an extension. But he would go back to the Sharks, and like the Oiler contract would be voided, and he would be a San Jose Shark again for like 2 years. It's wild. It makes no sense. But
It is wild.
if the Sharks win, then nothing happens. So we're rooting for Evander Kane in this one because we want madness, and it would be
I don't know.
tremendous.
I always root for Madness. I don't know if I can root for Evander Kane though.
That's fair.
That's
I'll give
true.
you that. After he supposedly gambled and had some abuse cases. We're rooting for madness. It just happens to be Evander Kane. We don't really want Evander
Well,
Kane.
honestly, like him ending up back on the Sharks is worse for him. So
Yeah.
because
By a
he's like
lot.
going back to the people he doesn't. He's like suing basically.
So why would he file this grievance then? If that's
So the NHLPA filed it on his behalf when he was cut a while ago,
uh,
and they're just now hearing it. But I mean, like,
So he was like on waivers
yeah,
basically. Oh, okay.
pretty much. It would be like if you burned all your bridges after you crossed over a canyon, and then someone picked you up and put you back on the other side of the canyon, and now your bridges are all burned. So
Yeah.
good times. Excited to see how that plays out.
Yeah, that's kind of a mess. But you know what's a bigger mess?
What's a bigger mess?
The Oakland A's.
We know this.
true. I just
Yeah.
watched them lose 13-2 yesterday.
Yeah. Well, their one bright spot this entire season has been their national anthem from a few days ago, where a woman played the national anthem on a saw.
Oh, I saw that.
Like
Yeah.
a chainsaw?
No pun
No, no,
intended.
no. Like a
What?
wood.
Like
Yeah. No, I will play it. I'm going to play it. It doesn't sound like you would think it would sound, and I did not know how it would sound. So
I refuse to believe that this is happening. On a saw.
Okay, I think we get
All
the
right,
point.
we get the point.
That sounds like bad like sound effects from like a '60s sci-fi movie.
Yeah,
Mhm.
and it's a real shame that it had to be at the A's stadium because only 50 people got to see it.
50, you're being
Well, that's
generous.
the only place you can get away with playing a saw is when no one's there to listen to it.
And she's like, I was like looking at the comments, and apparently she's like a 2-time Saw music national champion.
I
What?
don't.
Yeah.
That's like one of those things where like they have a competition with like a dozen people in like some place in like rural California, and they can just call themselves the national champion because they know that no one else is doing it.
Well, it's just like how are you just like, oh yeah, I'm gonna do this. I'm gonna try. I'm good at this.
God-given talent.
But credit to the A's recognizing talent.
Yeah, if only they could recognize baseball talent.
Yeah, that's true. Well, they can. They just traded away.
That's
That's true.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if you're seeing the Saw lady for the Giants sometime soon.
Yeah, it gets too expensive. They have to moneyball the saw lady.
They just get the runner up.
Oh god.
Oh man.
All right. Well, those one big things were interesting and fun. Uh, I'm gonna take. I gotta hold on. I gotta compose myself. My thing is a little bit more serious for one big thing. Um, so, as I'm sure you are aware, there's a lot of controversy surrounding Deshaun Watson, and especially I bring this up now because the New York Times just did an investigation and published an article that I read detailing uh, kind of the depth of what Deshaun Watson did. I guess if you don't know, he's been accused by I think now 24 women of basically sexual harassment, sexual assault uh, during massages. And what the New York Times article found out is that over a period of 17 months, he contacted 66 different masseuses. He was, driving 30, 45 minutes out of his way to go to like different masseuses in these like random little strip malls. He was getting now whether the Texans organization knew it or not, they were basically facilitating this by like they set up like a hotel membership for him, and he used the room to like get massages in the room. The head security guard for the Texans gave him an NDA that he started giving to all these masseuses that they had to sign.
That's honestly probably the worst part.
That
That's
is,
terrible.
and there's one part where one of the masseuses was expressing concern about like, well, I don't know if I want to do this, and he said, "Don't worry, I have an NDA," and like that's not what that's for, Deshaun. But like that
Sir?
aside, I like obviously I don't think this is not a controversial take. I think a lot of people agree that like what he like this is very bad. I think when it first came out, which this is not, I think it's an issue that when women speak out against men doing things like this, the initial reaction is, oh, like she's lying. Like when it's like a high profile athlete, the initial reaction is like, oh, she's lying, she wants money. But like the more that's come out now, it's up to 24 women, and even women who aren't involved in the civil suit, so like they have nothing to gain, who were masseuses have said yes, he did this, and women who have spoken on anonymously have come forward. And I mean, I know like Ryan, like you and I think from the beginning have been like, because obviously Deshaun Watson was just traded from the Texans to the Browns, and one of the teams that was the front runners to get him was the Falcons. And I know talking with Ryan that we both did not want him on the Falcons, and we're glad that he did not end up on the Falcons. And so this, like, I don't know. There's so many things I could say about this because it's a mess for the Texans, it's a mess for the Browns, it's a mess for Deshaun Watson. I mean, it's it's gross and like I don't know. It's my one. I could go on. It's really bad, and I'm glad that people I think are recognizing it in this case and saying that yeah, like this is bad. Deshaun Watson needs to be punished, and that's why I wanted to bring it up. Is that the NFL, who just suspended Calvin Ridley for a year for gambling, and who suspends players for multiple games for like weed, and like they need to like come down hard on Deshaun Watson, and they haven't really done anything yet, and like he needs to get at bare minimum a year or a 2-year suspension. But like in my opinion, and it's impossible for the Browns at this point because they just gave him a massive contract. But like the NFL, like he needs to be out of the NFL because this is just gross. And like it's not just gross. I mean, it's illegal. It's wrong. It's inappropriate. It's assault. And I think it's a really bad look for the NFL if they don't come down hard on him. And it's a terrible look on the Browns, who claimed that they investigated him themselves.
Well, all the teams involved, like the Browns just got lucky, you know,
Mhm.
or
Yeah, yeah,
like
and
big
well,
big quotes on that.
yeah. And it included like like they said they investigated him. It did not involve speaking to a single accuser.
Yeah,
So
like that's silly.
it's the New York Times did an investigation and look what they pulled out. Like that's so it's just a terrible look for them. And so
I'm just really worried, like kind of what you were saying about the NFL. I'm just worried they're just gonna give him like 6 games, you know, and
Yeah.
it's just so just like comparing it to the Ridley thing. That's another thing I was thinking before you said it too. Like that's a year for really just $1,500 of gambling, and like
Mhm.
I mean I think it's wrong to some degree, but that compared to what has been in the past for you know,
Yeah.
like assault or things like that, it's been like just a slap on the wrist.
I mean, if you look at like Deflategate with Tom Brady, like 4 games for deflating footballs, a year for a gambling suspension, based off like that stuff, like Watson should get 3 or 4 years. And I'm pretty sure, Ryan, you can fact check me on this. I'm pretty sure the MLB just like placed Bauer on suspension or administrative leave for 2 years in the midst of his like assault stuff, and I'm pretty sure there's less number of people accusing him than Deshaun Watson. I guess different situations. I don't want to compare the two, but
yeah,
like 2 years for that, and we were sitting here. I don't know how long into this discussion of how long this accusations have been going on for, and we like he probably will be ready and playing week 4.
yeah. I mean, like not like Bauer deserved what he got. Like
I
his
agree.
situation was egregious. Also,
And well, I think that's what Austin was saying.
That's what I'm trying to say. Is
Like
no,
Bauer
I agree. I
deserved
just want
that,
to make sure.
and if
For
Bauer
God,
deserved that, he should be getting Watson should be getting
worse.
like a lifetime ban. Like like
I think a
that's
lifetime ban's probably a lot, but
well,
that's
he should be in jail. Like, well, first
that's
of
true.
all,
That's
like he
true.
shouldn't even
That's
be practicing for the Browns. But
that's my. I know I've gone on. This was a long one big thing. I apologize, but my end point is that I don't trust the NFL to give him a fitting punishment,
I
and
agree.
fitting punishment is also impossible because he shouldn't be playing in the NFL. So
they're
it's
just
almost,
waiting to see people if they forget, so they can
that's
just
and
sweep it under the rug.
yes, and
Mhm.
that's what the Browns thought people would forget, so they signed him, and this article is helping people not forget. So I don't know.
Shout out New York Times.
Terrible
Way to
situation.
go. Way to go, New York Times.
All right. Well, that concludes our one big thing. Um, Next, we're going into the high five, where we do 5 topics. And we're doing a little bit differently this week. We're doing 3 long topics and 2 quick topics that Ryan, who is our stat master this week, has come up with. And me and Austin have not seen these topics. So you'll be getting a real off the cuff answer here. So we're excited about that. But let's start with our first longer question.
Well,
Oh,
sorry, I don't mean to cut you off. Just
it's
a
okay.
friendly reminder that like today's episode is about like game changing stuff in sports. So
Yeah, and I request to go last on this first question because
uh,
I just kind of want to dunk on y'all.
Hey, you're in charge of this segment, so you get
Okay.
yeah.
the order.
All right. So this first question is, who or what is one player or thing that has changed sports forever?
I can go first. I think mine. I know I took up a lot of one big thing time, so I'll be very quick with mine. There are a lot of things I could have picked, but I went with one that's maybe a little iffy, but I went with running back by committee in the NFL. I think that is a game changer, and I think if you play fantasy football, you hate it. And like obviously it's been going on for a while, but I think in recent years it's become a lot more proliferate where almost every team had like besides like maybe like the Titans with Derrick Henry has at least two running backs that will split carries to some degree. And like if you're obviously like I said, if you're fantasy football, you hate it because there's no more running. Like there's not a lot of running backs that are going to get like 20, 25 touches a game. But I think it's great. And if you're a running back, maybe you hate it because you're not getting as many touches, you're not getting paid. But I think it's great for football. Running back is a brutal position. It career like players have short peaks and then drop off because they're just getting hit all the time. So I think this is a smart, good way to lower injuries, increase the longevity of like these talented running backs, and also like there's so many talented running backs. Players deserve to be getting carries, even if they're the second. Like a Tony Pollard sitting behind Zeke Elliott deserves carries. So I think running back by committee becoming more increasingly popular is a good thing for the game of football.
Yeah, completely agree with that. For mine, I have Mike Vick and the introduction of the mobile quarterback. I know Vick is shrouded in controversy, but he was sort of like the first bona fide quarterback who was really like a dual threat outside of Steve Young. Um, and probably the best dual threat quarterback of all time. But when you look at it, so it used to somewhat be a rare thing. So from 1990 to 1999, there were over 47,000 rushing yards around that by quarterbacks across 6,781 games. And then from 2012 to last year, there were 74,000 rushing yards by quarterback over 6,335 games. So rushing yards have not doubled, but probably a 50% increase in less games. I mean, you look at it today. Any of the like the outside of your traditional pocket passers who are pretty old, most of your up and coming quarterbacks have at least some ounce of mobility, if not a full dual threat like a Lamar Jackson or the sneaky Joe Burrow running type. Um, and I think that the mobile quarterback has been changed forever. So that's my thing.
All right. So mine is Jackie Robinson. Um
Like,
I was okay. I knew this would
Thanks,
happen, and I kind of
thanks,
did it on
Ryan.
purpose.
like
Yeah, I know. I'm kind of making y'all look bad here, but I'm gonna actually take this a different direction. So, of course, Jackie Robinson was the first black player in the MLB, broke the color barrier.
oh,
Um, what?
what? Oh, I didn't know that. Thanks for enlightening me.
Well, I know. I'm just setting this up, and like, you made me lose my thought. Anyway, basically the point I was gonna say is like obviously everyone knows Jackie Robinson, and I would argue that he's the most famous person to break any kind of color barrier in sports, and kind of inspired by my like probably favorite YouTuber, Foolish Baseball. He did a video on Jackie Robinson earlier this year that was kind of explaining that he, of course, like he's this person that broke the color barrier. Like it's impressive that he got there and he played, through all the things that he had to go through. Um, but if you just like look at his career, like there's someone I just saw a tweet about it, like the person that broke the hockey color barrier, he played like one game or like a week for the Bruins, and he's like in the Hall of Fame. And obviously that is such a huge accomplishment to break the color barrier, and that deserves to be in the Hall of Fame. But if you look at Robinson's career, like even if he wasn't the first person to like break the color barrier, like his career is Hall of Fame worthy. Like he's accomplished everything that you could possibly accomplish in baseball. He's won the MVP. He's a Rookie of the Year, a 7-time All-Star. He won a World Series, a batting title. His almost 64 career WAR. He has a 313 batting average, over 200 stolen bases. And for like stat nerds, he is a OPS plus of 133, which is well above average. Like, so how that works is like 100 is average, so 133 for a whole career is insane. Um, so yeah, I think that's the big thing is just that he doesn't get enough credit for, aside from breaking the color barrier, which obviously is incredible.
But I think that's a good point because like he changed the game, and when he came into the MLB and played at a deservingly Hall of Fame level, it made people realize that like players like other players in like how many other players in segregated leagues are going to come in and play at this level. Like it just kind of shows that I mean obviously it was wrong, but like for people back then who aren't thinking about that, it shows
Yeah, and he
a big
put up all these numbers. Another thing, well, he started when he was 28.
yeah.
Oh my.
Yeah, like he played 10 seasons till he was 37, and like he got MVP votes in his last season when he was 37. Like, yeah, it's just crazy. I just, it's weird that it doesn't get mentioned more,
Yeah,
in my
it's like
opinion.
he had two Hall of Fame careers, like one as
Exactly.
like icon and one like as a Hall of Fame player.
Mm-hmm.
Like he just had to play one game, and he would have, and yeah.
Yeah.
But that's my little spiel.
No, that was good.
Also honorable mention because I wanted to say it, but I wasn't sure if anyone
Please
else was
don't,
going to
please
say
don't
it.
say, please don't say what I think you're about to say.
What do you think about to say?
I think you're about to say Steph Curry.
If you look at the future of AAU
Okay,
basketball and youth
all
basketball,
right, Ryan. Time for you to go.
Just because
okay,
I go to the gym to play pickup basketball at college and I shoot threes from the logo doesn't mean Steph Curry's changed the game. Okay.
I'm not
Next
saying
question.
my point actually wasn't Steph Curry. My point was the increase in importance and reliance on the 3-point line in basketball we've seen today in the threes and layups more ball. That's all I'm
It's
going to
not
say.
Steph Curry's fault though.
I'm not saying Steph Curry's fault.
I'm just okay. Well, okay. I was actually thinking about doing that for mine, and I was just like, just thinking through, like just like the 3-point line, and I was
Yeah,
just thinking of how did it take so long for people to figure out that the 3-point line, like a three, is more valuable than a two, like,
I agree.
and like, yeah. Anyway,
My point in saying that was the NBA like quickly changed from the 90s to now of moving to this, and Steph Curry is like one of the guys who's leading the pioneer stuff. So
It's fair. It's fair.
yeah.
All right. So this is our first real short question, and this is a good. This comes. You might have known. You weren't supposed to know, but you might have known because this is good for your question, your answer about Michael Vick as a quarterback who changed the game. Rank these five young-ish quarterbacks who could be the next to change the game, and I'll tell you my ranking at the end.
okay,
We've got Lamar Jackson, Dak Prescott, Joe Burrow, Justin Herbert, and Kyler Murray. Give me just a quick first thing you can think of 1 through 5 ranking.
are
I'll go
Wait,
these
one through
say them
five.
again. Lamar, Dak.
Joe Burrow, Herbert, and Murray.
am I ranking them on talent or just on like ability to change the game?
Talent, just talent.
Uh, Talent. I'll start. I have number one Justin Herbert, number two Joe Burrow, number three Lamar, number four is Murray, and number five is Dak because he can't stay healthy. Unfortunately, love him, but health is important.
What do you got?
Yeah, I've got a similar one. You got to go Herbert first, in my opinion. And then I'd probably go Burrow two. But I mean, I think it's kind of close with Lamar. I think Lamar gets crapped on too much, but Lamar's my three,
Yeah,
and then I go Dak, and then I go Kyler.
I think Lamar and Joe are like T2 in my book. They're both number two. I wouldn't put one of them above the other. I
Like
think Herbert's number
I would
one.
put Herbert borderline Mahomes. Like,
Ooh, okay. Well, I see. I did young quarterbacks. I didn't include Mahomes and
no,
Josh.
I know. I'm
They're on
just
a
saying.
tier of their own. But Herbert and like these guys can get there. But right now, Allen and Mahomes are on a tier of their own.
No, you're right.
But
Great.
I think we all have pretty similar answers. I would go Herbert. Oh gosh, this. I wrote it down, but now I kind of want to change it.
You gotta
I'm
stick with your gut.
Herbert, Prescott, Burrow, Jackson, Murray. That's how I'm going.
Kyler's low on the list. Oh well.
Yeah, I need Kyler to show me something this year because
I agree.
I've
Give him
not
a
been
new
seeing
coach.
it.
Give him a new coach, and he'll show you.
Yeah, true.
Flip out of there.
All right, so now we'll go to our next question. What franchise that moved would you like to see return?
I'll go
Um,
last on this one.
I'll go
I can
first.
go first. Well, Ryan, you go first, so I don't take yours.
Yeah, I'll just go first. It's quick. It's the Raiders. Like, I don't know. There were a lot I could have thought of. Like, my heart wanted to say the Thrashers, but I know that's not true because they shouldn't come back, unfortunately. But I'm just gonna go the Raiders. Like, I don't know. The Oakland Raiders, that's like a classic franchise. They had a great fan base. Like, yeah, they didn't have a stadium. They played in a baseball field. Like, I didn't like that. But I'm also, if you
Gave a
know me,
character. Gave a character.
true. Well, like dirt on the field is not exactly character. Like, it's a character you want. But if you know me, I'm a big hater of professional sports in Vegas. Like, I don't like. I was talking with someone because we're actually referencing our earlier conversation about baseball expansion, and I think a baseball team in Vegas would be terrible. Like, I just don't think Vegas needs top level pro sports teams because it's like, it's too hot, and it's just I don't I don't know. That's a whole different thing. But like, I think the Raiders should go back to Oakland.
That is not one that I was thinking about. So that is
And I know
interesting.
it'll never happen because they just built like $1 billion stadium. Like, it's never going to
Yeah.
happen. But in my heart, I want it to happen.
Okay. I have three quick ones. I have the most obvious answer. Then I have one that I was just thinking of and was just like, why did that move? Like, why did they move? And then I have one purely for the name and uniforms. First one that is obvious is the Seattle Supersonics.
Duh.
I don't understand why there's a team in Oklahoma City. Never have. Thunder's a cool name. Love the colors. Stupid, but I feel like it's gonna come back. Like they're gonna come back
Hopefully, they're coming
eventually.
back.
Yeah.
We're in
Okay.
Vegas.
My second one, which was like, it just dawned on me, is the Grizzlies.
To Vancouver.
I
Vancouver Grizzlies?
Yes, I think there needs to be more teams in Canada, and like the Grizzlies have just been wearing these Vancouver uniforms, like the light blue, and I'm just like, why'd they leave? Why'd they have to leave?
Hey,
Like Vancouver's a cool city, like,
I'll
I
tell you
agree.
what.
and Memphis, like, yeah, I know like they probably should have a team, or Nashville should have a basketball team, but like, I don't know, they shouldn't have left.
Well, the NBA said they want to. There's rumors, like we addressed last week, of teams in Seattle and Vegas. So I think it should be Seattle and Vancouver because Vegas doesn't need teams.
The other B.
All right, and then my last quick one is the Houston Oilers. Um, Texans is lame. Oilers uniforms with the baby blue. Like the Titans just haven't found it. You know.
So you're just coming at Tennessee sports here. Get
I
rid of
know.
the
I'm just
Big
like,
Ten.
what do the Titans have to do with Tennessee? Like the only thing you could bring up in Nashville is like the Parthenon or whatever, but that's Greek. Titans are Roman. Actually, no, they're not. No, they're Greek. So that's stupid. I don't know. My high school was the Titans, and I never understood it either. So
Well, my gosh.
which
Mine
is a cool name. All right.
is
Anyway,
mine is this is perfectly on brand if you know me. It's any WNBA team that ever moved, relocated, or dissolved. Um, originally there were 8 teams originally, and only 3 of them remain in the same place since '97. There have been 6 teams that have joined the league and then dissolved, and there have been 12 total relocations or moves. Um, I think it's a growing sport. Women's sports is one of the most like up and coming markets in the sports industry, and I think that I mean you can read about it in one of my articles called the WNBA's 144 issue. There's literally too much talent for the league that they need more teams, and it's not like It's not like they like have so many teams that it's fine. Like you have first round draft picks who are going unsigned because there aren't enough roster spots for them to make rosters. That's the problem. That's why I think there should be more teams. It's sort of a cop out answer because it's more of expansion than bring back. But regardless, there have been 12
That's a
teams that
good
have
point.
relocated. So if there's any sport that genuinely needs teams to come back, it's the WNBA. So that's my take for that one.
Yeah, no, that's a good point.
All right, should we go to our next quick question right
Yeah.
now?
Yes.
Okay, so very similar to the last one, but now we're going to do rank these 5 potential game-changing guards in the NBA.
I swear to God, if Jordan Poole is on this list.
He was in the first draft, but I took him off. I knew he would just be number 5. So, all right, so we've got LaMelo Ball, Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, Tyrese Maxey, Anthony Edwards, and Tyrese Halliburton.
oh. Oh.
Okay, I can go first if you want.
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay. So this is kind of a thing with tiers. Again, this one is
Agreed.
this is tough though. Um, I think after this playoffs in this season, I gotta go Anthony Edwards. I'm big on him. I I think he's so good, and I think he has a chance to be like a top 10 player, like within the next 2 seasons.
Mm-hmm.
Um, next I would. I think I'm gonna go Halliburton.
Ooh.
Um, I really like him a lot. Like I think he's his like I don't know. I just really like him. I think he's just such a good guy for the league. And I just like watching him play. I mean, except for like that ugly shot that just finds a way to go in sometimes. But like, I just think it's smart for Indiana to build around him, and it was stupid for the Kings to let him go.
Agreed.
And then next, mm, I think this is so hard. I think I'm gonna go Maxi. I don't know. He's either here or last, which is
Well,
tough.
keep in mind that this is a quick question, Ryan. So we'd
I
like
know.
to.
I'm sorry. This is hard. Okay, Maxi. I think out of all of these, he's in the probably aside from Edwards, he's probably in the best position to grow, like alongside Embiid, and I think he can be a good successor to Harden because Harden just isn't Harden
Yeah.
anymore. Next, I would go Shy. I just like him. I think he's good. I like him on the Thunder with Giddy. And then I go Ball last. I don't know. I just
You know he said LaMelo, not Lonzo, right?
yeah, I know.
Okay, just
Hot
making
take.
sure.
It doesn't really change my answer.
That is a horrible list.
What do you got, Austin?
Okay, I'd love to hear yours.
Mine is almost backwards. I have Shea number 1. I think he's one of the most underrated players in the league. I have LaMelo Ball number 2. His play style, his personality, game changing. Number 3, I have Halliburton. I think he's also like an undiscovered gem. In the right system, he'll be great. I have Edwards at 4. I think he's really, really good. Um, and this is nothing against him. I just have him at 4 because I think the other 3 guys potentially better. I think him and Halliburton are probably interchangeable at that 3 slot. Either one could go either way. And then I have Maxi at 5 because I don't know if I completely trust. I think he's good. I think he's the talent. I think he's a really raw prospect, and I think that like within 3 years, we might have a conversation for him to be up at the top. But I think he's a year or 2 behind Gilgeous Alexander, LaMelo Ball, and the other 2 guys on the list.
I just want to say one thing on Edwards before. Sorry, I just think Edwards has the potential, and he showed it this season, and particularly in the playoffs, to just break a game. Like he's just so athletic, and when his shot is hitting and he's just on, there's few players right now when he's on that are better.
Yeah. No, I mean he
Sorry.
probably the best. He was the best player for the Wolves in the playoffs. He was very good. I mean, also going with Maxi, I think Maxi I don't know. I think he was very good this year, especially in the playoffs. Well, he was good in the playoffs, but
I
he was
agree.
very very good in the regular season.
I don't think he was bad. I never said that he was bad. I just don't think he's better than the other four
No,
guys from the
like
Spurs.
all these guys are so good, so
Well,
it's tough.
yes. I picked these five because I think that these are five. Again, like I didn't pick like Doncic or Trey Young because they've already reached a different level. But these, I think, five guys are
Yeah,
guys that I think could be next. I would go Edwards, SGA, Lamelo, Tyrese Maxey, and then Halliburton. But again,
that's
I
fair.
think they're all fantastic all stars one day.
Agreed.
Sorry, I was going off there.
I mean,
Anyway, all right. So this next question is certainly a meaty one. Um, and it is the new Saudi-backed golf league, the Live Golf League, and that is LIV. I literally thought this was a Super Bowl like logo. I thought it was the 54 Golf League. Um, but yeah, this new golf league has emerged as a major player and competitor to the PGA. Um, it started last year, but they really been gaining ground this year by like they just added like Dustin Johnson, Phil Mickelson, Bryson DeChambeau, Patrick Reed, and plenty of other PGA names to the roster. And just today, before we recorded, the PGA has banned all 17 players that have signed with Live Golf League, and which is, I mean, it was just it was just it was going to happen. So and they actually played their first event today, and I've kind of been keeping up with it a little bit. And some things that they're doing different is like there's like teams of golfers on them,
mhm.
and like they try and make it more interesting and like more modern, which is one of the few positives I've seen so far. But anyways, the big moral question that people have been asking about this is, again, this is a Saudi-backed league, and um, by like the Saudi Arabian government, and they've been paying these players. Like they paid Phil Mickelson $200 million, and that's not even the most. Like,
What did they off? They offered Tiger like upwards of like 700 million, right?
yeah, no, it's crazy, and they just are chucking money at these players, and it's just such a difficult dilemma because um, this money comes from a questionable, to put it lightly, place where Saudi Arabia is known to be a country that is not exactly lived up to human rights standards. Um, and but this is like generational money. Like this sets up multiple generations, and it's just like almost impossible to turn down. But again, it just goes back to that moral question, um, like where this money's actually coming from. So I'm just curious, like just to start, like if you were like in Phil Mickelson's shoes or Dustin Johnson's shoes, how would you like digest that? I guess.
I mean, it's easy to say I think as all of us being opposed to it, it's easy to say, oh, I wouldn't take that money. But like Dustin Johnson's answer was, I did the best thing for my family. When someone offers you uh, nine figures, like hundreds of millions of dollars, it's hard to turn it down. Like I honestly couldn't tell you what. Like I probably could. I
Yeah,
mean,
I was thinking about it today. I
money,
seriously
but
don't know if I would turn it down. Like I think I would
it's
take it as much as I hate it.
Hmm.
Like $200 million. Like that's stupid.
right. It's the easy thing to say is no, I wouldn't take that money. It's from the wrong source. It's messing up the game. But then when you think about, well, if my family had 200 million, like what could I could do charitable things with $200 million. I could help my family, like generate, like you said, generations. Like
Yeah,
it's definitely an issue.
yeah, and well, Austin, I'll let you answer this next part of the question first. Well, with the PGA, like obviously this affects it greatly because it's taking a lot of their top talent and like diluting the sport. But like, what do you think it's gonna look like for Live and PGA? Like maybe a few years down the line, like what do you see like the implications for golf as a sport?
Uh, I, as a proud American, I think competition is always good in the economic marketplace. But when you look at when you look at what this is turning into, it's not competition. It's the Live is just throwing as much money as they can because they have it at people to come play, and you'll get to the point where like you're not even gonna have like worst case scenario, it becomes like the majors and the minors in baseball, and the Live becomes the major leagues, and the PGA is like a minor league. It's like a development league to get to the Live because you have to be good enough to get all this money, and I think that is would be really bad for the sport because that sort of already exists when you look at sort of the lower level tours like the Corn Ferry and some of the amateur tours leading to the PGA. Like that's where the talent comes from. That's where it comes from. That's where Tiger came from. Um, and if we're turning the PGA into a development league, that like, from an American perspective, that's really bad because like you kind of not that the PGA is American because there's some like open events across the world, but you kind of want the you want the best league to be in your own country. Like the NBA is good because it's the best basketball league and it's in America. NFL is the best football league. It's in America. NHL is probably the best hockey league. Uh, you could make a case for some of the weird Russian ones, but it's not. Um, if you want those to be in your country, and that would not. So
Yeah, and I think something I was also thinking about, like while thinking about this question, is just like what's like the Masters going to be like next year? Like,
mhm.
like is it going to mean less or um and I know there's only 17 people that have been banned by the PGA now, but like that number's going to grow. Like
Yeah.
it's not like they're out of money.
Yeah,
Well, it's like golf is already a sport like in I don't like I guess danger and like getting up to like the post Tiger era, they don't have anyone like obviously there's very good golfers, but nobody else is Tiger. And like they're losing their Michael Jordan and they're already slipping. And when like for me, like I pretty much exclusively watched the four major events. And but because that's the best golfers in the world, facing off against each other, it's fun. But when it's half of the best golfers in the world, like eventually it's just it's really like it's bad for the PGA, but I also think it's just really bad for golf because it's just neither one of them is going to have all of the best players.
Yeah.
So it's
when
like if the
you
NL and the AL all of a sudden split and were two separate leagues, only and like you had an NL champ and an AL champ, and they never played a World Series. Like that's kind of what it feels like to me. Is that you're just never gonna have all the best players against each other, and it's
Yeah, it's just frustrating.
accelerate the death of this, or not the death, but the decline of the sport, especially in America.
and and when you going sort of back to that Masters point, like the main topic of this is like the money and the issue of the money. The entire purse for the Masters, like arguably the most prestigious golf tournament. It's not the biggest purse, but it's the most prestigious golf tournament. Is $11.5 million total.
Yeah,
Hideki Scheffler last year got 2.7 million. Hideki before him got 2.07 million. Dustin Johnson just got 100 times that just to sign, not even to play or win. Like it's 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 ridiculous. And like I mean, Hernan, you might have a point about this and how how this money has been affecting other sports. When you look at sort of the unsalary cap world of soccer, I don't know if there's anything there in like England where this stuff is happening, but certainly it's happening in other sports where people just buy success.
well, yeah, I did want to like I thought about this relating to soccer. Obviously, I'm a big soccer person. There's a few things you can relate it to the rise of super clubs like teams like PSG, Man City, even like somewhat like my favorite team, like Chelsea, like teams that like their success is based in like a lot of money, and they can spend it on the best players. And it used to be like earlier in the 2000s that a team like Porto from Portugal could make the Champions League final. Porto's never going to make the Champions League final in this era because they don't have the funds to buy the players that. I mean, it's going to be Bayern, PSG, Liverpool, Real Madrid. Like the big teams have the money to buy the best players. And then you can also relate it to, we're playing a World Cup, and the World Cup should be starting tomorrow, but instead it's starting in November because we're playing it in Qatar because FIFA was bribed with, again, questionable money. Stadiums were built with essentially slave labor. It's so again, it's morally that like the World Cup situation is morally questionable. The
And well,
sport,
just one more point on like the World Cup is like I just the way like the world and the sports world in particular is going is in more of like a I don't know if progressive is the right word, but just like more inclusive. Like
mm-hmm.
inclusivity is a huge point for a lot of leagues and sports. And like I sent it to you, Ryan, I think. Uh FIFA like tweeted like something for Pride Month, and like it's just so hypocritical for them because their biggest event is taking place in a country where like being like a part of like the like LGBT community, like you could go to jail for that. Like, and it doesn't make sense. Like, I don't understand what this disconnect is. Well, it's the money. I mean, that's the disconnect. But
Exactly.
like,
And
yeah,
again, like it's morally wrong, and like, and then just like I mean, the World Cup is in Qatar because FIFA was bribed essentially, and teams like Manchester City. I'm not saying they're not Manchester City, but they have money that comes from questionable places. That's why they're so good. And so it's morally wrong, and it's also just like the World Cup is in November. The World Cup should not be in November. It messes up. Players just played a long, grueling season, and they have to play these Nations League, basically friendlies, in June because the FIFA international calendar is messed up, and there's a World Cup in November, and everything has to be crammed together. And it's just this is my big thing for this question is that yes, we always say sports are a business for like the owners and for the players and for everyone involved. They want to get paid, and that's fine. But like sports are also just like supposed to be about like passion and enjoyment. And like what I love, like soccer is my favorite sport because it's a worldwide community, and that's what I love about it. And it's like it's a way of life for so many people, and it's how they express themselves and enjoy themselves. And it just when you just seeing like soccer and golf with this just be so much about the money that like it feels like the soul of the sport is dying. It's just like really really sad.
Yeah, I think like another sport to add on to soccer and golf. Myself as a Formula One fan, you definitely see it there. Where this year, second week of the season, we raced in Jeddah, which is in Saudi Arabia, uh, and like there's like I won't say horrifying, but like sort of bone chilling team radio footage where you can hear the drivers while they're racing on the track say, I can see black smoke billowing and say I can smell smoke because an oil refinery 20 miles from the track just got bombed. And the drivers were like, we don't feel comfortable racing. And all the teams in the FIA were like, we're going to race anyways because there's so much money on the line here. It didn't come out explicitly said, but you can tell it's what it was saying. And then you look at the sport we're racing in Bahrain, Saudi Arabia, uh, some of the more other Middle Eastern countries, Azerbaijan. And like one of the slogans for F1 last year and this year is "We race as one." So it's F1 against injustice for racism, injustice for hate against the LGBTQ plus community. And back to Ryan's point, like it, you can be thrown in prison in Saudi Arabia for identifying as part of the LGBTQ plus community, and we're racing there, and that is just so like j- for me,
it's so hypocritical.
you just
It
like
yeah.
I for me, I would rather you don't say we race as one and continue to do whatever the heck you do, then throw that brand on, do your rainbow signaling, and then actually do the stuff behind the scenes.
I feel the exact same way. Like, and yeah, like just on that tweet I was talking about with FIFA, like it is so it makes me so mad, honestly. Like
Mhm.
this is so hypocritical, and it's just because they're a brand and they're just trying to. I don't know. I just hope people actually like understand what we're talking about,
Yeah. Yeah.
But I doubt that's gonna happen, But yeah, and
But
I think we're gonna kind of take an even deeper dive in maybe an article or some other form of something and over the next couple weeks, because this is a very interesting topic. We all have a lot of thoughts on it, and it deserves more time. So
agreed.
yeah, and that concludes our high five. So next is stat or cap.
Okay, let's move away from that deep discussion to a little
Yes,
bit of sports trivia. Uh,
my best transition.
yes, I'm sure you guys are thrilled that I am in charge of the questions this week, and I cannot continue to rack up points against you.
Shut up,
But I tried to make them as difficult as possible so you can't get points anyway. No, I'm just kidding.
jerk.
Honestly, these are pretty easy. So if you don't get them all, I'm a little disappointed. Let's just start off. I got 5 stat or cap, and then 3 general trivia ones for you.
All right,
So let's
cool.
go.
I just said cool.
Oh, cool. Okay. With a true shooting percentage of 64.4, Kevon Looney has the highest career true shooting percentage in the NBA playoffs with a minimum of 60 career games played. And I'll tell you the number 60 was picked because he has played 61.
I was about to say, I thought that was cap because I didn't think Looney had played in 60 games, but I guess he had.
I'm gonna go stat.
I'll tail that. I think it's also stat.
That is cap. He is second to Chris Birdman Anderson with a true shooting percentage of.
I knew that. I remember hearing that. Not that he was second. That Birdman was first.
You should have remembered even more. So that's a. I'll keep track here. That's a neither for this question. Let's
Thanks.
go to the next one here. Aaron Judge leads the MLB in home runs this season with 22. However, he is second in home runs hit at home to CJ Crone. Is that stat or cap?
Oh, I should know this because I freaking did research on Chrome. I'm going stat.
I'm also gonna go stat.
That is cap. Judge has 12 home runs at home. Crone, Buxton, Rizzo, and Trout all have 10.
On the one hand, you have the Mickey Mouse Yankee Stadium. On the other, you have Coors. So
It was close, but yep.
I thought this would
Good.
be a chance to highlight CJ Crone.
I know. I thought you would go for it. Let's stick with baseball here. The NL currently has a collective batting average of 243, while the AL has a batting average of 237. This would be the first time since 1972 that the NL has a better collecting batting average than the AL. Is that stat or cap?
I need to pull the MLB history experts here. Which league made pitchers hit? Was it the
NL.
NL? Okay, I'll go stat.
I'm gonna go stat, but it's purely based off the fact that the previous two are cap.
This is also cap.
Are
Oh
you
my
kidding
god.
me?
The 1972 was the NL had hit 248 and the AL hit 239, but there was 1 year in between when the NL had a better batting average, and that was 2020, which was the
Oh
shortened season,
please,
and
that
there
year
was
does not
Shut
count.
up.
a DH, and the NL hit 247 to the AL's 243.
That is garbage. We get a half point for that.
Hey, look, I'm sorry.
That is so soft.
Let's go back to NBA. Look, they're trick questions. What can I say? Let's go back to NBA though. This is a good one. The top 3 players in blocks for this NBA playoffs are Robert Williams III with 31 blocks, Jaren Jackson Jr. with 30 blocks, and Al Horford with 29 blocks. If you add all those players' blocks together, they would not equal the record for most blocks in a single NBA postseason.
I would like to say, number one, this is the best set of questions we've ever had. Number
Stat.
two, I hate you, Ryan, for this. For the sake of we have to get at least one right, I will say Cap.
Okay, so all those combined, of course, add to 90. They do not reach Hakeem Olajuwon, who had 92 blocks in the 93-94 playoffs.
I don't care that I went 0 for 4. We got one.
All right, let's get. This is the last Statter Cap question.
Oh my god.
If the Tampa Bay Lightning defeat the New York Rangers and advance to the Stanley Cup Finals, they would make their third finals in 3 years. This would be the first time since the 95 to 97 Detroit Red Wings that a team has made 3 consecutive Stanley Cup Finals.
You suck.
That's
I think that's Cap.
You suck.
Wait.
Made or won?
made.
Made. I was really hoping you would say first time ever, and then I could come at you with the 80s Oilers. I'll start that.
It is, again, Cap. That was the 83 to 85 Oilers are the most recent team to do it because the Red Wings made the finals in 95, 97, and 98, but not 96.
96. So stupid. Oh, I hate this.
Okay, now let's go into some more non-Statter Cap questions. Maybe you'll have better luck with these, Austin.
Shut up.
This one's good. This one is 4 parts, so you can get a quarter point for each part you get here. Name the 4 players that have the most assists. So here's the 4 players you need to name. Most assists in a single NHL playoffs ever. Most assists in this 2022 NHL playoffs. Most assists in a single NBA playoffs ever. And most assists in this current 2022 NBA playoffs.
I will take Wayne Gretzky as the most assists in the playoffs. And this is one playoffs run, right? Not
One
career.
playoffs run, yes.
Okay, just making sure.
I think I'm also gonna go Wayne. And I'll go actually
I will go Leon Draisaitl for my assist leader this playoffs.
I'll try and pick someone different.
My other guess is going to be Connor McDavid, but I just wanted to go Draisaitl.
No, I'm gonna go McDavid.
Okay.
Crap.
All time, I'm gonna go Stockton,
I'll go Magic.
and then
No, I lied. I'll go LeBron.
Oh, okay.
and then currently, there's like I want to say Curry, but I'm not gonna go Curry. I'm gonna go. I don't think it's Luka. No, I'm gonna go Curry.
I'll go Al Horford.
Okay. All right, so I'll go one by one here. So all time in NHL playoffs, it is Wayne Gretzky. He has the top 3 seasons with 31, 30, and 29. So you both got that one. This current playoffs, it is Draisaitl with 25. So that's a point to Austin.
That's a good guess.
All time in the NBA in a single postseason, this player actually has the top 4 and I think like 5 of the top 7. It is Magic Johnson with 303, 284, and 240. And then most for this current playoffs with 131 is Jason Tatum.
Oh, I knew it was a Celtic. I didn't know if it was Brown or Tatum or Horford.
So it was certainly not Horford. What was that?
I thought maybe he dishes to Tatum, dishes to Brown. I don't know.
Do you know how many assists that
I do not care.
Tatum
Shut up.
has.
135? Is that what you
Tatum.
said? Yeah, he just said it.
Tatum has 131.
Okay, just
Shit.
go to the next question. I'll be a second.
You're gonna look up how many Al Horford has.
I
Yeah.
hate you.
So that was 2 points for Austin on that one, one for Ryan. Sticking with NBA, this
Should've
current
been
playoffs,
3.
there has been controversy surrounding Draymond Green not getting called for technical fouls in this NBA Finals. But who has the most technical fouls in NBA history? And I'll give you multiple choice.
NBA history?
NBA history. Is it not in the playoffs? And most.
Can I get 2 points if I just guess it right now?
No. Is it Gary Payton, Dennis Rodman, Karl Malone, Charles Barkley, or because I'm a jerk, none of the above?
You
Wait,
suck.
wait. Say them again.
No. It,
Well, you didn't need them though. Gary
Oh,
Payton, Dennis Rodman, Karl Malone, Charles Barkley, or none of the above.
you are never getting Stat Master again because
it's none of the above. I think. Well, actually, I think.
I'll be different. I'll say Karl Malone.
Is that your answer, Ryan? Do
Yeah,
you want to say who you think it is?
I think it's Rasheed Wallace.
Well, it's Karl Malone.
I knew it.
Also, I don't have a total. Oh, actually, I do. This is kind of nice. Al Horford has 69 assists this playoffs.
So not bad. Doesn't
He like
terrible.
doubled.
It doesn't matter. You and I are both
he has
wrong.
he has 3.5 a game.
You were wrong. I was wrong. That's all anyone cares about.
I was
No
just
one
saying it was a
scored
bad
points.
guess.
I don't care.
It was
equally as bad as yours.
I thought
at the end of the
I thought it was a joke. If I'm being honest,
day.
I thought you were just like throwing in the towel.
I've broken them with these questions.
All
All
right,
right,
anyway.
last one. You're almost done. A fantasy football player's nightmare. Which of these running backs has the most career games with exactly 99 rushing yards? Is it Jim Brown, Adrian Peterson, LaDainian Tomlinson, Emmitt Smith, or none of the above?
Freaking 5 numbers is none of the above.
I'm gonna go none of the above.
Okay, if I tell you that it's not none of the above, who would you pick?
Tomlinson.
Adrian Peterson.
It is Jim Brown.
That was great.
And he has 4 career games with 99 rushing yards. So that concludes this week with a grand total of, let's see, 2.25 points for Ryan and 1.5 points for Austin, if I did my math
Suck it.
correctly. So abysmal, just really bad. But I'm fine with that.
Well, that's done. Praise the Lord. And we can move on to the last segment of the old show, which is a good old fashioned hear me out. Looking back on last week's, mine's already ruined because the Avalanche swept the Oilers, meaning the most possible games remaining in the playoffs is 18, and I said there would be over 19. So the Oilers blew a 4-2 lead in the third period of Game 4. Will forever be indebted to me.
Mine last week, I was kind of pretty much right. Okay, well, my like concrete prediction was that it would be 2-1 Celtics at the time of this recording, which is true.
It is.
And then my other prediction was that it would be the media would be kind of very much down on the Warriors, and kind of like pointing out age and that they're washed. And I have proof that I can defend myself that kind of proves me right. Well, the 3 things very quick. The betting odds have swung pretty generously into the Celtics' favor with I think I saw it today on FanDuel to win the whole thing that the Celtics are minus 230, which is
Wow. That's really good.
yeah. And I saw a podcast where after game one, they were debating whether they should bench Clay after game two. Um, and then just the whole discourse with the Draymond stuff. I honestly think that's enough to prove me right.
I would agree.
You would think so. I'll give it to you because mine was also wrong. I picked UGA to win their region, advance to the College World Series,
Rip.
and they lost to VCU in their first game. Then they destroyed Hofstra, I believe, like 25-1 or something. And then they lost to UNC, and they had what would have been a home run to tie the game in the bottom of the ninth after being down 4 runs, and it got robbed at the wall.
Robbed.
That was heartbreaking.
Unfortunate.
Yes.
Moving on, I think moving on to this week's. I had one, then I realized it would not be posted until
Yeah, I was gonna
the
tell
show
you.
ended. My original one was that Oklahoma would run rule Texas at least once, but win the series in 3 games. So they run ruled them they run ruled them last night. There's no run rule in the World Series, but they had the runs needed to run rule last night. They play tonight. Hopefully Texas wins, and then they play tomorrow, and Oklahoma will win. So that was my original one. And then, in true Austin fashion, my backup also got screwed over
Yeah,
because
that's the one I was gonna tell you about.
but I would like the record to show that I did write it before last night's game. Just so we're clear here. I did write it before, but I said that both the Celtics, you can check the Google Doc history,
I see it. I'm looking at it right now.
that both the Celtics and the Warriors will have 15-point wins in this series. And I will double down on that and say that that doesn't include
30?
last night. No. That doesn't include last night.
Okay, I like
So
it.
technically, last
I mean,
night's game would have counted for it, but I will double down and say that it doesn't, and that from now, Thursday, June 9th, until whenever the series ends, the Warriors will win a game by 15 points, and the Celtics will win a game by 15 points.
well, I really hope that does not come true for the sake of me watching those games.
Yeah. Mine. It's, I guess, a little weaker compared to Austin's, but I'm going to guarantee a Warriors win on Friday, and I'll go through how they will win. I think. Well, Curry got hurt, kind of, but he said he's going to play. And I think it's going to be a Curry game, even if he scored 30, I think, in the last game, but I think he'll be more present and more assertive. I think because he was in foul trouble the whole game, I think that won't happen again. And I think like Curry's frustrations will kind of boil over with kind of inconsistent play from his teammates, and he'll just kind of take over. I think that's gonna happen.
Okay. So I've been a big stickler for predictions should be done before our next recording, but I picked one this week that will not be done before our next recording. Um, but I am writing a little World Cup preview article where I predict every game that will happen in the World Cup from the first group stage game to the first final game, or to the final game, and I want that to include these World Cup qualifiers. I picked just to myself basically. I picked Australia to beat UAE 2-1, and they did. So I will now pick the remaining 2 World Cup qualifiers. I'll pick Peru on I believe Monday will defeat Australia 2-1 to make the World Cup, and Costa Rica will defeat New Zealand 3-1. And once those both come true, I will post my article that predicts every game, and you will see how the group stage is going to play out all the way to who's going to win the whole thing. And I'll just be right.
Yeah,
Oh,
one final thing with the World Cup, going back to the live conversation one more time. It's like so stupid that Qatar has to take their stupid, awful team. Don't they get a spot?
Okay, I will say yes, they do get a spot. And would they have made? Okay, Qatar won. They were Asian, like they were the champions of Asia. Like Qatar's team is actually
Okay,
not bad.
that was me generalizing.
Uh,
That's Ryan getting mad and making it a point to prove his to make himself
Yeah,
feel better.
you gotta push your agenda.
That's fair. Well, that I believe is the end of this episode. So if you enjoyed listening to us or watching to us, feel free to leave a comment down below. Follow us on social media at afternoon_analytics on Instagram, analytics past 12 on Twitter, and at afternoon analytics on TikTok. Um,
And also on Apple Music and
oh
Spotify, make
yes,
sure you follow our podcast.
yes, do that. It's great. It's great. The podcast has better audio quality than this YouTube video. If you're watching it on YouTube, if you're watching it on podcast form, you know the audio quality is better because you've chosen the superior audio platform. If you have questions, feel free to DM us on Instagram. We might feature them in the show or comment them on our YouTube video when we post this on Monday, and we'll talk about them next week. So, that being said, on behalf of the Ryans and myself, we'll see you all next time. Bye.